on a T stance. We're going to part the wild horse's mane, what we've been practicing before. T stance, L stance, O stance. Here's your snack. Sit back, sit down. Pivot, root down on a T, hold your ball. Out on an L, part the wild horse's mane. Today's lesson. Flip the forward hand so you no longer see your palm. Join the back hand or left hand, showing your palm. They are staggered hands, okay? You're on a bow stance. You're gonna sit back, sit down. When you pivot, your hands are connected to your body. Therefore, we're looking at a big clock. The top or left hand points to the number 12, whereas the bottom hand holds a cup, or as if it were holding the bottom of a ball. So I will refer to this position as a stem and a cup. Look at our feet. Our feet are kind of in a position that we need to correct or move on. We pivot by sitting on putting more weight on the back foot, which is our right, to allow our left foot to pivot on its heel to reach the other numbers of a clock. We should be beyond 11, maybe 10, but we want to get out to the 9. We move our hips, we close our feet. What do we do with our hands? The top hand now becomes our bottom hand. So the top hand, our right hand, the palms are facing me or you. We're moving to the 12 o'clock position. There should be a stem and a cup. The right hand has a stem, the bottom hand holds a cup. We're moving on by using our hips and waist, not our hands. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, something happens. We flip the top hand and the bottom hand takes the top position. We use our hips and waist, and we're now addressed at 12 o'clock, stem and cup. We want to get out to the 9 o'clock. We open our stance, we flip our hands. The right hand is on the top, the palm is facing. Middle or cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hands, close the feet. 12 o'clock, stem and cup. 11, 10, 9 o'clock, 2 things happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. 12 o'clock, stem and cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, something happens. Only flip the hands and come up. Weight on the left, and what are you going to be? And what are you going to be? And what are you going to do? Finish the other side. And hold your ball. Okay? So I see some smiles because although we went through a couple of new or rather new complicated movements, we ended with familiar things. So refreshing your memory by what I'm going to do, okay? And I'll actually do it all, and then you can kind of put everything together. Commencing form. Take a deep breath in. Relax, make yourself small. Pulsing of the monkey, center higher. Open, glance. Bring it to the ear. Repulse of the monkey 1. Center higher, glance. Open. Bring it to the ear. Repulse of the monkey 2. Parallel higher, we're going to brush our knee. Ear, heel, hand, turn the hips and waist. Brush knee. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Parallel higher on the T. Ear, heel, hand, turn the hips and waist. Brush knee 2. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Hold your ball on a T stance. Out and to the side, you're going to part the wild horse's mane. Here it is. Sit it back, sit down, pivot, holding your ball out into the side, part the wild horse's mane. 2. Going to get into cloud hands. Flip the forward hand, meet it with the other hand. And this is today's lesson, okay? Just follow. Okay? So I picked up the tempo, and then I actually wanted you to watch, but maybe, doing and watching is good too. You can see that we're nearing the end, and maybe this is midway through our 10 sessions, but we will have time to refine, renew, reevaluate, practice, reinforce for the rest of the sessions. Brush knee is not easy. It requires practice, as I have said many times. But today I want to really address cloud hands. Cloud hands is fun. It's different from any other Tai Chi movements because we're crab walking to the side rather than just hovering over a block. We're actually moving to the side, and then when we need to get out of cloud hands, we take the other side. We move the opposite way. The goal or the imagery or our task is to become floating clouds. And it's not just the hands that are moving. It's not just my head that's moving, but it's my hips and my waist. If I did not use my hips and waist and they're steady there, yes, cloud hands would be incorrect and it would only be a hand motion, okay? But what we want to achieve is that our hands go for the ride. They want a freebie. We can achieve that by surely using our hips and waists because they are very important when you do Tai Chi. All I do is I leave my hand here. How do I get to the middle? I turn my hips and waists. How do I want to get out to the 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock? I turn my hips and waists. If I do not turn my hips and waists, this is a hand motion, okay? But we want to employ, we want to instill our whole body to work for us. That's what makes Tai Chi flowing, okay? So remember, we warmed up, airplane, everything with our hips and waists, so we need to use that. It's all warmed up for us. When we do cloud hands, we each have a big old-fashioned clock like that, okay, rounded clock. So we are identifying with the numbers on the clock, the top or the middle being 12, the extremes being 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock. But everything in between on those numbers helps us to get to the extremities. The extreme of 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, there's always 2 things that happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. Flip the hands, open the feet, okay? At 12 o'clock, we have a stem and a cup. 2 inches below your navel, show me, 2 inches below your navel, holding a cup or holding the bottom of a ball, and the left the top hand, doesn't matter which hand, because each hand will have its turn, is the stem. So more than likely, your fingers are pointing to 12 o'clock. So this is 12 o'clock. I call it home base, okay? Because we have even distribution of our weight right at this point. But we're in motion. So at the extremes of 9 and 3 o'clock, something happens. You flip the hands, you close the feet. Stem and cup at 12, flip the hands, open the feet. So it's this kind of motion, okay? Can you do this? So what are the hands doing? The hands are on two different planes. You notice also that one hand, the palm is facing, whereas the other hand, you don't see the palm. You also notice that my head turns and it looks at the tip of the fingers on the top. You also notice that my hands are going for the ride because we all are trying to use our hips and waist to make our hand motions and our torso move for us, okay? So that's the gist of the top portion, or the hand portion of cloud hands. It's not easy because the hands are doing two different things. So the top hand always does this. As if you were turning and reading a newspaper. Turn the page. Wait for the next page to come. Turn the page. Okay? The other hand does the same thing, but it starts on the bottom. Okay? So it's like egg beaters, Ken would say. They're sort of out of sync, but sync in that they're doing something simultaneously. Okay, so rotating and spiraling. Okay, rotating and spiraling. They're still words, but we need to make those words work for us so that our body can be clouds. So how shall we do that? Good question. We will part the wild horse's mane. Right foot on a T, right hand on the bottom holding our ball. Rooted down on our back foot. Out on an L, part the wild horse's mane. Here it is. Flip the forward hand, no longer seeing the palm. Back hand or left hand comes up and shows you the palm. This is the beginning of cloud hands. You're on an L stance. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Move the bottom hand so that there's a cup. What do you have? 12 o'clock, stem and cup. You're seemingly in an awkward position. We need to get out to the 9 o'clock. We're going to pivot on our left foot on its heel, and our hands go for the ride. But what happens? We're kind of stretched out. Here comes 9 o'clock. Two things happen. Flip the top hand, join it with the bottom hand, so the bottom hand now has the palm, right? I'm on my toe. I need to close because I need safety. I need help. Move the hands by moving your hips and waist. At 12 o'clock, what do you have? Stem and cup. 1, 2, 3, move your hips and waist. 3 o'clock, flip the top hand, and the bottom hand takes the top position. Move your hips and waist. 12 o'clock, stem and cup. Move your hips and waist to get to 11, 10, 9 o'clock, flip the hands, open the feet. Two things happen. Move the hips and waist, 12 o'clock, stem and cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, only flip the hands. 12 o'clock, stem and cup. 11, 10, 9, flip the hands, close the feet. 11, 12, stem and cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, two things happen. What happens? Flip the top hand, Bottom hand takes over, open the feet, stem and cup. One thing happens, only flip the hands. 12 o'clock, stem, cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 2 things happen, flip the hands, close the feet. Middle or cup. Flip the hands, open the feet, middle or cup. We want to get out of cloud hands. We only flip the hands. We come to 12 o'clock, stem and cup, and we turn ourselves into a what? Golden cockerel. Okay? And then we do a kick out. And then we hold our ball, okay? So looking at it in a general way, an overall way, it's rather smooth, it's flowing, it's pretty, but to get it to where we want it to be might be challenging. And rightfully so, because we've never done this before. So let's just think about different elements that go into this complicated motion. We said that we would be a crab, walking only sideways. But we can also think of another analogy. If our feet were like our hands playing a piano, we put one finger down or fingers down. We lift up, we then put the other one down, as if you were maybe playing a piano or using the pedals of your piano, okay? So that's that imagery that you can conjure up. Also now, you notice that my feet were not moving this way. My feet were parallel. So each time I moved, my feet were always parallel, right? Equidistance away. You also notice that I did just not plop my foot there and plop my foot there. I used a softness. I used every muscle that I could address. And I started with putting down my toe, just like commencing form. Okay? So that requires practice, that requires understanding, it requires balance, because you need to put down. You need to lift up and put down. And definitely, if 2 feet are weighted, you're going to have trouble moving. So we need to definitely post ourselves to make it nice. Post ourselves before we move. We don't want to fall. We want to shift our weight. Okay, all those nice principles playing into it for safety. Yes, there's a definite pattern to how to do cloud hands regarding our feet. We have to, so watch first, okay? And we don't have to really know everything now, okay? But I want to finish up the task of the feet first before we get to our hands. So concentrate on my feet. I sit back, sit down, I pivot out. This is a hard one. I close, I'm going to crab walk, shift my weight. There's a specific role that we do. We cannot just continually crab walk and get to the end of the building there. But there's a definite pattern. But the pattern is sort of like a drill in that we crab walk, shifting our weight, okay, in a parallel feet position. The hands now enhance our feet. How do the hands enhance our feet? When we're at the extreme, we have our specific position. When we're at home base, almost 50-50, we have our stem and cup. When we're at our extreme, we close our feet while we flip our hands. But they're done simultaneously. Once I flip my hands, my feet open up or close. My hands are always staggered. The top hand, you always see your palm. The bottom hand, you never see the palm because you are only concentrating on your top hand, or your vision is at the top of your fingers, okay, your fingertips. So the top hand, you remember me saying, you always see the palm. It's as if it's an ellipse or a rounded rectangle that you're addressing. So with a rounded rectangle, the top hand does this. Goes down, and it addresses the middle of an ellipse or rectangle, comes up. Okay, so it's rounded. But if you really wanted to do it with an angle, you would do it more like this, okay, which is a little harder for me because everything is rounded in Tai Chi, okay? So the top hand, you know, the palm is facing you. Whereas the bottom hand, you know that it eventually has to come to hold a cup and a stem. So this is that bottom hand. Takes the top position that shows me the palms. It comes down on the rounded edge. It holds a cup. It comes up. Okay? Huh? Okay, so wait. Okay, no, wait. Huh?
I want to show them the rectangle.
Okay.
Just to reinforce what Lucille said, if we say the hands go for the ride, you could reduce cloud hands to a rectangle. You start off like this, you come here and boom, boom, boom. That's the rectangle, but she's saying round out your rectangle. Come to the edge instead of coming up this way, round out your rectangle. Round it out. Okay?
Okay, good. So you round out your rectangle, turn it into an ellipse. So there again, it's just words, but we have to make those understanding mentally, drawing our image, and then working our body to it. If you can extrapolate that if I have my hands correctly, my hands, you don't have to worry about your hands. You set them up. And your torso, your hips and waist, move them for you. So that's what we're going to work on, okay? I'm going to turn this way. There's times when you're not going to see it, but I'm going to use my words to help you to evaluate and check what your hands are doing, okay? So, let's just do it this way. Left hand on the top, right hand on the bottom. Top hand, you know the palm is always facing you. We're about 1 o'clock. When we're stationary, we sort of can't get out to the 3 o'clock. But once we're in motion, we can because our hips and waist are helping us move. Left hand higher, showing me your palm. The top hand shows the palm. The bottom hand does not show you your palm. Therefore, the palm is outside or away from you. When you move, you use your hips and waist. You turn that bottom hand so that now it's holding a cup or the bottom of a ball. You're addressed at 12 o'clock, stem and cup. 11, 10, 9 o'clock, flip the top hand. The bottom hand shows you the top hand now shows you the palm, stem and cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hand. Bottom hand rises to the top, palm's already there. Round out the corner. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 11, 10, 9, flip the hand. Round out the corner. Use your hips and waist. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 3 o'clock, flip hands. Turn the hips and waist. Round out the corner. stem and cup. Flip the hand, round out the corner. Use your hips and waist. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, round out the corner. Use hips and waist. Are you getting it? Say yes. Yay, best answer. All right, as you do this, you find maybe you might have to slow down. Maybe you need to take it in and absorb that it's not so hard after all. All you need to do is set up your hands, move your hips and waist. Remember at the extremities, we have to flip the hands. Middle, stem, and cup. Flip the hands. And be always aware that the clock, you're addressing the numbers of a clock, okay? So that's not so hard, and you already told me that. The complication comes when you have to put your feet together. But you know that you've done several movements and sort of surprised yourself that it's doable. And you're kind of tickled with that fact because you didn't ever think that you could accomplish that. So the same remains to this motion. It's complicated, it's beautiful, yet there's that urge to learn it. I get it, but I don't get it entirely. Let's dig down deeper. So digging down deeper is good because it expands our knowledge and it really proves that we're still in pretty good shape, okay? We said that the hands enhance the feet, but the feet enhance the hands. They go together. So let's try that, okay? We're not going to accomplish 100% in a few minutes, but I want to give you an overview. We are doing the last parting of the wild horse's mane to get into cloud hands. We're on a T stance. Are you on a T stance? Holding your ball. Out on an L, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Here it is. Next motion is cloud hands. Flip the forward hand, join it with the back hand. You're on a O stance. Sit back, sit down. When you pivot, your hands are attached to your body, therefore it helps you to move into a 12 o'clock position, a stem and a cup. We want to get out to the 9 o'clock. We have to pass 11 and 10 first. How do we get there? Do we jump? We use our mind. We use our body. We pivot on the front foot heel. Did we get out to 10 at least? Yes. At 9 o'clock, we flip the hands. We close the feet. 12 o'clock, do you have a stem and a cup? 1, 2, 3, flip the top hand, take the bottom hand, put it on the top. Round out your rectangle, 12 o'clock stem cup. 9 o'clock, flip the hands, open the feet. 10, 11, 12 o'clock, oops. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hands. 12 o'clock, stem cup. 9 o'clock, flip the hands, close the feet. 3 o'clock, flip the hands only. 9 o'clock, flip the hands, open the feet. Stem cup. We need to get out of cloud hands. At 3 o'clock, we only flip the hands, shift our weight, stem and cup at 12, turn ourselves to a golden cockerel. Okay? So, rather than take the whole thing and you saw that even for me, when I'm instructing, I can't flow, I have to remember, well, do I close now, do I open now? There's a specific pattern to cloud hands. So rather than learn that portion, which is complicated, take it apart. Take your feet motions, make sure you know what it is to walk sideways, to shift your weight, and direct your move, your feet pattern with the toe rather than heel. Okay, so in other words, you don't want to lift and then set it on its heel. You want to come up on your toe and logically put that toe down and then your heel down. The heel comes up, the toe comes up off the ground. The toe comes down, the heel comes up, the toe goes down, okay? All the time that we're doing it, we're using our hips and waists. So put your hands there and show me how you use at your waist, and show me how you use your hips and waists. So when you use your hips and waists, you're actually addressing 3 or 9 o'clock, 3 or 9 o'clock. You're also noticing that we pass 12. You know something happens at the extremities of 3 and 5. You know something happens at home base, which is 12. Then you set your hands up, and you just set your hands up. So my one hand is higher, which is the palm is facing, one hand is lower. And when you don't even move your hands, what's going on? Right? What's going on? Do this with me. Your hands are moving for you. Because why? Is it magic? You're using your hips and waists. That's half the battle. Go faster. The faster you go, the faster your hands seem to move. The slower you go, they still move. That's half the battle, using your hips and waists. When you use your hips and waists, and whenever you do Tai Chi, we are all focused at the center of our center of gravity, which is our dantian 2 inches below our navel. So be aware of that. Be in focus. Be in tune with your center of gravity. You saw that no matter what my hands on the top were doing, no matter what my hands were doing, they were moving with me. So now then, the other half. If you set your hands up where we said the top hand, the palms are always facing you, and the bottom hand, the palm is always away, I can just move and it'll work. It'll move. But we said we had to address that ellipse or that rounded rectangle. And we had to address the extremes of 9 and 3 because at times 2 things happen. So once we set up our hands and we know that this will work for us, we can now then stem and cup. 2 things happen. Well, 1 thing for now, flip the hands. And what? All I'm doing is round it out. Am I just doing this? No. The cloud is being made and activated by my hips. And I'm only rounding out that rectangle. So does the cloud then become a real cloud, and is it flowing? Yes, because my whole body is moving. Okay? So let's try that. Starting from here, okay, because there are going to be some difficulties, okay? There are going to be some challenges, but you might as well address them or be introduced to them early, and then we can work on it, okay? T-stance, holding your ball, good Tai Chi posture. Out on an L, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Flip the forward hand, join it with the backhand. Backhand, palm is facing you. Sit back, sit down. I didn't do anything with my hands. I will make my hands go to 12 o'clock only because I pivot using my hips and waists, rounding it out so the bottom hand now is holding a ball. Top hand has the stem. Move on by pivoting the heel of your front foot to get out to 9. I didn't do anything with my hands. They just moved because I pivoted. I'm at an extreme. Therefore, I have to flip the hand, round out the corner, close my feet. I'm not doing anything with my hand. All I'm going to do is move my hips and waist, turn the bottom hand to hold the bottom of the cup, stem and cup. Move my hips and waist, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, flip the hands, round out the corner, and open the feet. Metal or cup allows me to then to lower that foot that had a toe on it, stem and cup. Flip the hands, close the feet, 9 o'clock, extreme. Use your hips and waist. It's so easy just to bring your hands to the middle. Stem and cup. 1, 2, 3 o'clock. 2 things happen. Flip the hand, open the feet. Round out the corner. Move your hips and waist, stem and cup. We are going to go the other way. Therefore, only our hands flip. Move your hips and waist to take you to 12. Move your hips and waist to get to 3. It's an extreme, so 2 things happen. Flip the hand, close the feet. Stem and cup at 12, 11, 10, 9. 2 things happen. Flip the hands, open the feet. Use your hips and waist to get that flow. 3 o'clock, only flip the hands. Round out that rectangle. What do you have? 12 o'clock. Turn yourself up to be a golden cockerel. Just follow, okay? Just to let you know that in another couple weeks, if not next week, we'll learn this one. But don't be afraid. We will come back and revisit many, many times. What you do on one side, you do on the other side. This movement is called grasping the bird's tail. But in order to grasp the bird's tail, you have to ward off your opponent, push him away. Then you're allowed to drag him down as if you are grasping the bird's tail. But then it's martial arts, so you're going to push him away again. And now we're ready to close our form. So that's where we are almost finished. Sit down, sit back, pivot, open pivot, in pivot. We're going to close. But first we have to embrace the tiger. And we have to do our last pushing away. We have to bring ourselves back home by making ourselves small. And we now have to close our feet to close our form. Okay, so what I want to do is kind of help you with brush knee, okay? Let's break it down a little bit more. So we said parallel and higher, okay? Parallel and higher. Let's not do feet. Let's just do parallel and higher now, okay? All right, go ahead. Parallel and higher. You can be on the same side because I'm accommodating you, okay? Parallel, higher. You're going to do a glance. You're going to bring it to the ear. So can you do this now, okay? You're glancing and the top hand is coming closer to your head while the bottom hand goes down. Now we're going to move on. We're going to bring 3 things together, turn our hips and waist, brush our knee, push it to the center. Other side, parallel, higher. 3 things happen. Ear, hand, heel, turn hips and waist, brush knee. Parallel, higher. Ear, hand down, turn neck, brush knee. Parallel, higher. Glance. Ear, hand down, turn neck, brush knee. Okay? Now put feet to it. So the feet, you know, are always T stance, L stance, bow stance. Sit back, sit down, T stance, bow stance. L stance, bow stance, okay? T stance. Good Tai Chi posture. Parallel higher. What are we going to do? Do this motion. But something's wrong. We need to take an L stance. When we take an L stance, then we can turn our hips and waist. Same principle. When you turn your hips and waist, the hands just don't come. They move because you're turning your hips and waist. All right? T stance, parallel higher. Here we go. Ear, hand, heel. Turn hips and waist. Brush knee. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Reposition your hands parallel higher on a T. The hands go for the ride. Use your hips and waist. Out on an L, move the hand, turn the hips and waist, brush knee. Getting better. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Parallel higher on a T. Make your waist and hips move. Ear, hand, heel. Turn hips and waist. There you go. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Set up your hands, set up your feet. Use your hips and waist. After you do, 3 things happen. Ear, heel, hand. Here we go. Use hips and waist. Brush knee. Let's get it down a little better. Last time. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Parallel higher on a T. 3 things happen, then we turn our hips and waist. Ear, hand, heel. Turn hips and waist. Did you get it? Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Set it up. T and parallel higher. 3 things happen, then you turn your hips and waist. Ear, heel, hand. Turn hips and waist. There you go. Sit back, sit down. 1 more set for good luck. Parallel higher. Ear, heel, hand. Turn hips and waist. Brush knee. Sit back, sit down. Pivot. Parallel higher. Ear, heel, hand, turn hips and waist. Brush your knee. Sit back, sit down, pivot, pause. Yes, Tai Chi takes work. It takes thinking. It takes planning. It can be difficult, but it can also be very fun. So keep the fun part in mind, okay? Keep the fun part. So how is it going to be fun? The fun is that you're going to be able to laugh at your mistakes. Okay? Everybody makes mistakes. Mistakes are good because you can build on it. You can correct it.